I'm not cringed out yet. I haven't even looked at the cringe yet. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friday Night LoinStream Special Edition Cringe Stream brought to us by you brave people in the chat. I am here, okay, Abigail? I see you're waiting. Jeez, you said that right before right as it was like, I'm live. Hi, Dottie! Look, not to, make Abigail feel like a side girl right now, but Dottie! Vanya! Monty! Barry and Ruth! And I need to not... And Rainer! Rainer joining the girls. And all of you other uncounted silences. I've got us a board right here for us to assign points to. For the cringe, we can score it on... We'll see how that works out. I'm not entirely... But we'll figure out. We're going to write down what the cringes are. See what happens. Ready to die? Whoa. Didn't provide it. No, we're gonna come up with titles post read. Tatum, please. Oh no, LMAO. Uh-oh. So think, as you guys are listening to the cringe, think of a title for it, because the funniest title will win. You want death? We haven't even read yours yet. You don't even know how yours compares to the other cringe. Okay. Note. You always know that you're extra good. Oh, welcome, Victoria. Welcome to the mistake. That is not the name of the stream. That is the name of the group of mods. Note. I named Frankenstein's creature Cardi because he needed a name and I wanted the bougiest name possible for him. Studio 38, welcome to the cringe stream and the mistake. We're getting all of the new mods tonight. The OG Cardi B stood there, looking at his master. Victor gazed upon Cardi's decaying visage. His black, soulless sacks of nerves and fluid peered into Cardi's red, squishy head balls. Victoria-sama? Cardi stuttered nervously, his face redder than the blood of Victor's first wife. Yes, my pet, Victor said, smiling as if he had drunk too much formaldehyde. Cardi growled in love. Just spit it out already, creature, Victor yelled. If you keep wasting my time, I won't buy you another tooth. I love you, Victor-sama! Cardi screeched. I know you do, but you know how I sold my sister to Satan and can't love anymore now. No! Cardi screamed in agony and despair. Just when I finally love a human! You're scared you're not cringe enough? Suddenly, Satan appeared in a poof of magical red smoke, his abs glistening in the torchlight. Yeah, about that, Dr. Satan. Or Dr. Frankenstein, Satan said. I've had your sister for a while now, and to be honest, she's really annoying. I want Cardi instead. You can't have Cardi. He's mine, Victor yelled. I dare you to try putting up with her. All she does is cry and whine all the time. How could Oni-san do this to me? I want my mommy and daddy. Oh, yeah, there's not enough Sunny D in hell to drink my sorrows away. No! Cardi looked at Victor and his frizzy, wiry hair, and then he looked at Satan and his glistening 72-pack. Cardi didn't know what to do. I belong To Victor-sama, Cardi said. But Victor-sama doesn't love me. Come to hell with me, Satan said. I make bomb lasagna. You are my creation, Cardi, Victor said. You belong to me, alone. Suddenly, the three dude bros heard a shriek from a girl. I should can I do it? We'll see if it works. It doesn't look like it's The girl screamed. It's too late? Is it too late to sell my own soul to you, Satan? Victor asked. What are you doing here, Elizabeth? Satan snarled. I thought I told you to stay back and finish your lasagna.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm allergic to tomatoes.
The evidence was clear on her swollen face.
I'm going to tell Orishan.
No, you're not, Victor said. Since you're no longer in hell, I can love again. I'm going to move to Zimbabwe with my new husband, Cardi. Oh, Victor-sama! Cardi's red seeing thingies watered as he ran to Victor and planted a kiss on his formaldehyde-coated lips. And then Victor and Cardi Frankenstein moved to Zimbabwe and lived happily ever after in poverty and oppression. Meanwhile, Satan switched from using tomato sauce to pickled relish and won Elizabeth's heart. The end. So, titles and scores. I need titles and scores, guys. I think Cardi Stein. Cardi Stein is where it's at the moment. Or we can rank these at the end. Put them in numerical order. Here, I'll even just put a dash so that we can put a number before everything. Congratulations to the author of Cardi Stein. That was... It's Always Sunny in Zimbabwe. That was a work of absolute art. Now we have Mall Santa. I'm looking at you guys for a name. Rachel's parents always told her that she could be whatever she wanted to be when she grew up, and she wanted to be a Mall Santa. You can't be a Mall Santa, her high school guidance counselor told her a few weeks before graduation. He was the kind of guy who liked it when underage kids sat on his lap. So he was probably jealous that he hadn't come up with the idea himself instead of becoming a guidance counselor. Why not? Rachel asked. You can't grow a beard. I already bought a costume on Amazon and it comes with a fake beard. You're valedictorian and you have a perfect set of titties. You should definitely go to college. I want to be Mall Santa. Young lady, our school has a reputation for sending 100% of its student body to college. Oh no, you hate this? That's your problem, not mine. They must have kept arguing for a while, except that a bunch of they might have kept arguing for a while, except that a bunch of terrorists blew up the school. Rachel didn't remember any of it because she was knocked unconscious. She woke up in the back of a pickup truck covered in dust and bruises. She reached for her backpack where she'd put her most prized possession, the quality 100% nylon less shiny Santa costume, but she couldn't reach her backpack because she was tied up. There were other students in the back of the truck, too, piled around her. She was pretty uncomfortable because someone was lying on top of her, and they smelled like they pissed themselves. What's going on? Terrorists blew up the school. They also blew up the city. They've kidnapped us, and they're going to sell us as slaves. The person talking to her was a guy lying on top of her, and even though he smelled like piss, he was actually very good looking. He had crystal blue eyes and a chiseled jaw and wavy brown hair. He also had a muscular chest and broad, sinewy shoulders, all sun-dappled and moist with sweat. If she had kids with him, those kids would also be really hot, because Rachel was hot too. But hopefully they would inherit her green eyes, because green eyes are better than blue. though his blue eyes were very nice for blue eyes. How is this better? Somebody mentioned freaking Hendrix. Freaking, this is better than Grady Hendrix, not lying. What's your name? You don't remember? I sat behind you in geometry. Hey, Usagi. We were lab partners in chemistry. Um, we made puppets in French class and put on a play up from Cinderella. The class gave us a standing ovation. I tripped and spilled milk all over your pink sundress the first day of school. Brandon? Is that really you? Yeah. Is it too late to tell you that I've always loved you? No, but we should probably escape first. My parents always said that I could do whatever I wanted when I grew up, and I don't want to be a slave. I want to be a mall Santa. I have a new costume in my backpack. That's nice. How are we going to escape? I'll use my telekinesis. Okay. Rachel lifted herself and Brandon up a few feet. The truck zipped off with all of the surviving classmates down the road and into irrelevance. Rachel and Brandon had sex in the middle of the road because they were both just that thirsty and couldn't be bothered to wait long enough to go someplace more appropriate for that kind of thing. And the story is YA, so it needs a sex scene. Rachel knew that she'd be the right choice because Brandon let her wear her new Santa costume, including the beard, and the fabric wasn't shiny at all, though it did smell a little like piss. When they were done, some military trucks drove up and rescued them. This would be a good place to end the story, but there's a 1,000-word count minimum, and I've only written 656 words. So let's see what happens next. Did I actually put a minimum on this? I don't think I put a minimum on this. Somebody imposed a minimum to keep writing. At least they didn't bang in the sky. The military guys took them to a military base that looked like the kind that you see in the movies. It had a big fence and razor wire on top and some tumbleweeds and dust blowing in the wind, just like the song, except it was more poetic. The military wanted Rachel to help them stop the terrorists because they knew about her psychic powers. But she said no, because she was going to be a mall Santa. A general with white hair and sapphire blue eyes said the terrorists were going to keep blowing up cities and killing lots of people, including all the children. The malls wouldn't hire a mall Santa at Christmas if all of the children were dead, which was a valid point. So Rachel concentrated really hard and all of the terrorists' heads exploded. The general's head exploded too because he was actually a secret leader of the terrorists, but no one knew it until that moment because he was really good at keeping secrets. Rachel was still wearing her Santa costume, so now, in addition to smelling like piss, it had brains all over it. But she won a Nobel Peace Prize for saving the world from terrorists and bringing about world peace, so she used the prize money to buy her a new costume. It was made out of polyester instead of nylon and had a nice velvety texture that wasn't shiny at all. She got married to Brandon and they moved to Minneapolis, which wasn't blown up by terrorists. She was ready to fulfill her dream of being a mall Santa at the biggest mall in America, the Mall of America, because now she was a hero. And she could do anything she wanted. And of course, she wanted to be a mall Santa. It was Black Friday, the biggest shopping day of the year, the first day Mall Santa makes his appearance. And holy shit, I finally reached 1,000 words. A giant space shark eats the earth. Everyone dies. The end. This is Empress Teresa, Mall Santa. The Southern Mall Santa's Guide to Slaying Terrorists. Do I have any competition for that? Otherwise, we are going with Abigail's brilliant title. She needs to be hired to specifically come up with titles. Fantastic, beautiful, perfectly written YA story. Whoever wrote this, clip this section and send it to agents. I need to know where your book deal is, like, right now. We have 10 in total. If anybody forgot to submit, I can open it up for you to submit as we go. But we have 10, which I am very proud of all of you. Just let me know if you need me to open up the thing. I was also expecting more. Oh wait, you said that's more than you were expecting. Actually I have no idea what I was expecting. I'm just glad people participated, to be honest. Okay. And if I think okay, I just need to keep that open so I remember to reference that at some point. I can't read. I'm at the point of not being able to read, which is not good for the LoinStream. The natural resources of the earth has been depleted. Humankind mines the valuable minerals on a moon of another planet. The moon's atmosphere is mostly poisonous gas, while its surface is inhabited by 10-foot-tall blue people. These furless furries live in harmony with nature. To explore, we got Manaya's fan fiction up in here. To explore this moon. It's Avatar. We all had the same thoughts. To explore this moon, humans create genetic abominations that look like the blues. John Tolley, an ex-soldier whose legs don't work, becomes part of the abomination program after his twin brother, who was chosen to mentally hijack one abomination body, dies. John agrees to control his brother's abomination and infiltrate the blues. In return, the human scientists will make his legs work. It is Avatar? Oh no! I don't know anything about Avatar except blue people. On the moon, wildlife attacks Abomination John, but the blue female called Hetiri saves him and immediately takes him to her mother, who's the spiritual leader of the furless furries. I guess Hetiri thinks Abomination John is hot or something. Her mother agrees and orders her daughter to initiate John into their society. They live around a giant house tree beneath which there are rich deposits of valuable minerals the humans are after. While John spies on the blues, he and Hetiri totally fall in love. They choose each other as mates and touch tails. John gets a bit. That's a metaphor. There should be that's a metaphor in there. We'll see if there's any change at all. I think somebody is trying to bust Manaya's balls with submitting Avatar to Cringe. I feel like that's what the joke is here. John gets a bit carried away and destroys a bulldozer that the humans had sent to a sacred furry site. The human military is not pleased with his shenanigans and orders the house tree destroyed. Bulldozer life matters. Bulldozer lives matter, okay? The Cringe way. The way of the cringe. There we go. John is given 1 hour to escape the blues and return to humans, but he uses that time to try and convince the furries to evacuate the house tree. He confesses that he was a spy and the blues take him captive. Human soldiers destroy the house trees, killing many, including Hetiri's father, the clan chief. Sad times. Some random blues free Abomination John, and John detaches from his abomination body, is now imprisoned by the military. Not everyone in the army agrees with their command's brutality, and a sympathetic pilot airlifts John to a safe outpost where he again plugs himself into his abomination. Abomination John regains Hetiri's trust by touching tails with a dragon-like creature feared and revered by the blues. They go to another sacred tree supported by the new chief of the furless furries. John unites all of the blues, telling them that they gotta fight it out with the humans. Meanwhile, the humans' military organizes a strike against the House Tree 2.0. John prays to the furry deity by touching tails with the tree, and a battle brings heavy casualties regardless. The blues are rescued when the moon's wildlife unexpectedly joins the attack and overwhelms the humans, which Hetiri interprets as an answer to John's earlier act of plantality. A human general wearing a robot suit survives the crash of his aircraft and breaks open the Abomination Link unit containing John's human body, exposing it to the moon's poisonous atmosphere. As the general prepares to slit Abomination John's throat, he is killed by Hetiri, who saves John from suffocation, seeing his human form for the first time. With the exception of John and a few others, all humans are expelled from the moon. John is permanently transferred into his abomination with the aid of the tree he tail-fucked. The end. Until the sequel comes out, and John probably touches tails with fish and likely the sea itself. There you go. Please, whoever did this, share. The end. If it wasn't Manaya, you'll have to ask him. So is this one going to be petition to rename Avatar to Abomination? We can call this one Abomination. We need titles, people. It's not easy being blue. We could name it that. I will bleed, I will die. Oh no. Proposed title, worst movie. I like Avatar, The Way of the Cringe. Absolutely. We're going with that one. Got you, Vanya. Tailfucked sounds like a different movie. Like, I'm thinking hoodwinked. Tailfucked sounds like a type of hoodwinked. Hook. Okay. Number 4. You guys are on fire. I didn't make that title. It's okay. I know I saw it in the chat. It's still, you brought it up. Just take the credit. Just take the credit. Heated, shady interview. I stand in the elevator, looking at the reflective door in front of me. Beside me stand tall, thin, blonde woman with the figure of a runway model. I'm about a hair shorter than her, but with a slightly wider shoulder and perkier chest and rear. She's the secretary of the billionaire CEO, Zach Bermuda, the mysterious man that I am going to interview today. Name that parody. That's apparently what we are tonight, is name the parody. All of them have been parodies. You have the Cardi Stein, you have Empress Teresa, Avatar, and now 50 Shades. Here we are. On the 13th floor, the elevator stops. The supermodel named Aliana leads me out and points at the door next to us. To say that it's a door would be a gross understatement. It has a luxurious redwood arch decorated with gold, jade, and even some unknown gems that flicker under the chandelier above. Well, I don't know why you didn't make one for the Cringe stream, Montana. You could have. I am ready for your writing. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Eliana brings me through the door and into a spacious office. Behind the beautiful desk at the center sits a handsome young man with a pair of hypnotizing blue eyes and a full head of shiny black hair. This is him, Mr. Bermuda himself, in the flesh. Hey, Nikolai. This is a chair in front of the desk prepared for me. There is a chair in the desk. There is a chair in front of the desk prepared for me, so I sit down on it. I almost trip before doing so. I cannot believe I am still clumsy at this important occasion. Eliana, coffee. Bermuda stands up, snaps his fingers, and points at the door. Yes, master. I mean, sir. Eliana bows and rushes outside the room with her back hunched. Miss Brandchevsky, please be at ease. I won't bite. Zach Bermuda asks me as he walks to the front of his desk. His figure is slim, but the tightened upper sleeves of his gray suit tell me that he's packing a pair of buffed guns underneath. He can tell that I'm nervous, as I have a pin in my right hand, and I'm shuffling through my purse trying to find my notebook. You okay? He asks with a gentle but slightly threatened voice. I look up at Mr. Bermuda. His eagle-like blue eyes are looking straight at me. My heart pounds in my chest so hard, so much I feel the ripples undulating on my breasts, pushing the buttons on my blouse closer to the brink of being flung away. I think I effed up. I remembered to bring my pen, but I forgot my notebook. What should I do? You forgot something? Mr. Bermuda leans slightly back, still staring at me. But just when I think that he's about to sit on the edge of his desk, he jumps up, backflips, and lands on the top of his desk, squatting. He's doing the Serb squat. I am vastly impressed, not just by his agility, but also by his muscular outline of his legs. He is trying to dominate me. I can feel it. And I think that I might need new pants when I get home. I, do you have a notepad here? I say with an apologetic tone, scratching my head. This is your first strike, baby girl. Mr. Bermuda narrows his eyes. Then he took off his jacket. I'm confused, but excited. Then he took off his luxurious looking, silky white shirt, revealing his smooth bronze skin, chiseled abs, and marvelous pecs. He throws his shirt at me. Here's your notepad. I can get a new one. He then hops back onto the ground. Eliana! Here! Eliana rushes into the room, holding a cup of coffee in her hands. Mr. Bermuda takes a sip of the coffee, then frowns. This is not Colombian coffee, Eliana. How dare you cheat me with McDonald's coffee? I am sorry, master. So sorry. Eliana immediately bows and apologizes, crying, This must be a mix-up. Please, forgive me. This is your first strike. Stand up straight, Mr. Bermuda orders, with unquestionable authority and power. Thank you, master. Eliana stands straight, her eyes filled with tears. With the clunk of something metal, Mr. Bermuda takes out a gun with rubies on its barrel and diamonds on its handle. Before Eliana can say or do anything, the gun opens fire. Her body falls against the French window behind her. The window cracks and blood is dripping down from her body. You ruined my window. Mr. Bermuda raises his left leg and kicks Eliana in the stomach. Her body bursts through the window and falls toward the ground outside. Before long, I hear a loud crash. Now, let's get back to our interview. Mr. Bermuda gets back to his desk, squatting again. What do you want to know? I stammered, for I am both confused and nervous, and eventually I come to the question, What do you usually eat for lunch? Wagyu burger, a side of sea bass salad. Mr. Bermuda scratches his jaw while playing with his gun, smelling the muzzle and looking down the barrel. Then he turns his attention to me. But I am hoping to have something different today. Today, I want to have you. Me. My heart skips a beat at his flirty answer. I can feel myself blushing and my inner thighs tingling. I do not know how to respond, and I feel that I can only evade his gaze for so long. After a while, I bring up the first word that comes to mind. I didn't bring any condiments. Mr. Bermuda frowns, seemingly unhappy at my answer. Hoarse and gurgling roars come from the floor below. Before long, one man and one woman, with pale skin, murky eyes, drooling mouths, and bloody bites on their bodies, burst into the office. Zombies! With only one look in their eyes, I immediately recognize what these are. I jump up from my chair, flipping 1,800 degrees in the air, and draw my daggers from my boots. 2 daggers shoot through the air when they leave my hands and sink into the foreheads. A third zombie tries to rush in. When the first 2 fall to the ground, Mr. Bermuda opens fire and blows the chubby middle-aged zombies comb over head up. Beep. Mr. Bermuda presses a button below his desk. The door to his office locks down. 2 thick steel plates spring up to fortify the doors, cutting the third zombie in half. Mr. Bermuda jumps off his desk and pulls me closer by my blouse. I want you. Now. I cannot say no to him. How could I? When he rips open my clothes and sends buttons flying, my hands find their way to his belt and loosen his trousers. When his pants drop, his raging member almost gives me an uppercut. It does not bring our flames down. He's like, his dick almost beat me. When we reached our third climax, the police and military have set up barricades on the road of their firing at the hordes of zombies. None of that matters anymore, for we have each other now. My purse falls onto the ground when the entire building vibrates with motion from the explosions in the streets. My notebook pops out from a side pocket where I usually put my car keys. The end. What Becker and Dalton should have done. This could have been. Vibrates with motion. Okay, we need a title. Who referenced Yick? 50 Shades of Triangles. Gyration. By proposed shot in the ass by the billionaire boyfriend. That's inaccurate, Abigail. There was none of that. Hot Bermuda Nights. We'll take Hot Bermuda Nights. Very nice. We did have some double crossovers here. It was Dark Harvest meets 50 Shades. 50 Shades of Triangles. Okay. I'm talking to my ex right now. She was a terrible person. That's okay. I'm terrible with her anyway. I used to have a fur baby with her, but it ran away. When it came home, she took it and left. She now wants to sell it back to me. I bought it back. Hey, asshole. I said no. I didn't know what she meant, so I asked her. What do you mean? I said no. I don't want you anymore. I didn't say anything. I don't care. You're an asshole. I left. The dog came with me. I gave her the money for him later. Right now, I want a burrito. I got a burrito at a burrito truck. It tasted like sad because I was sad. I lost my girlfriend and had to re-buy my dog. My phone is ringing. It's my mom. Hi, Mom. Are you coming home? Yeah. What's up? You need to be home. It's late and I'm worried. Mom, I'm 34. I can stay out if I want. Plus, it's only 6:45. Jeopardy doesn't come on until 7:30. Don't sass me, little mister. Get home now. My mom hung up. Me and the dog went home. My head hung low in shame. It's cold out. I don't like it. But when I got home, Mom had dinner ready. My phone rang. The house phone, not my cell. It was my ex, and my mom answered it. She saw the number on the caller ID. Don't call here anymore. My son doesn't want to talk to you. Mom hung up quickly. Mom, I'm 34. I can talk on the phone, all by myself. I have a job. I drive. I pay taxes. I can answer the phone. Shut up and eat your dinner. I sat down to eat. I started getting sad again. Mom was smiling, telling me about my day, about her day. My cell phone buzzed. Hello? It was my ex. Come over. I miss you. My mom yelled at me. Put that phone down. I'm sorry. Mom won't let me talk to you right now. I'll be over in a little bit. No, you won't, son. You're going to bed right now. As I crawl into bed, I thought about my ex and how she wants me to come over. I miss her. I sneak out into the window ledge and look at the 5-story drop. I have to jump all the time, so I did it again. I grabbed the dog that I grabbed... What's a half cough or sneeze count as? I grabbed the dog and I ran to my ex's house and we made it up. Twice. Thank you, chat. I appreciate that. The end. Ina. Thank you, Linda. I didn't see you come in. And Groovy Cat, welcome. Tyler is here. Let's mod that guy. Welcome. Tyler, you missed the perfect YA story. This is the cringe stream, Jonathan. Okay, title time, girl boss. That was your suggestion. That story is actually kind of good. Girl boss. Okay, we got 2 for girl boss. Sad. You want it to be titled sad? /girl boss. Tastes like sad. Okay, tastes. That's legit, Abigail. Tastes like sad. Look, these, Jonathan, so tonight is cringe night, where all of the stories are written by you guys to be as cringy as possible. And then we're going to vote on the cringiest one at the end. And we are about halfway through them now. Did you convince him this time? Ellery stared out the front window at the car, where a grizzled, white-haired man hunched in the back seat, arms crossed, jaw clenched tight. He spent 20 minutes bitching at the stair banister about Mrs. Gray's yappy dog. We were in the kitchen, Elle. He couldn't tell. Ellery's face went slack. Shit. It's getting worse, Jace. Monica's got a call 2 days ago. He was pissing on a church donation box in broad daylight. He thought that it was midnight instead of noon. We had no choice. Any more complaints and the pack is gonna have to... Well, you know. Ellery scowled. I hear good and bad things about that place. You sure? Jace sighed. Yeah, it's the only place that'll take him. If you could go within case he acts out, we'd be obliged. Sure. That was all me struggling with that. He pissed in the church. Yes, he did. Ellery, Jace, and his wife Monica trooped out of the car, Ellery stuffing an overstuffed duffel bag in the trunk. The drive was tense, silent. So, what kind of hellhole you fucks dumping me into? The scowl on the old man's face deepened. Monica swiveled in her seat, fury high in her eyes. Her voice remained serene. Now, Dad, Endora's Curlick's scarlet-drenched meadows is just the place for people like us. He lifted a grizzled chin in her direction, milky eyes defiant. Sounds like a whorehouse. You gonna visit or exchange services to keep me in the pens? Dad! The outraged chorus just deepened his scowl. Endura Clorique's scarlet-drenched meadows sat at the end of a mile-long driveway. It sprawled a mutant combination of 60s hotel and Gothic roofs. Buzzards and crows roosted in the trees, and the expensive lawn and gardens were bright green, though Monica was sure the flowers planted in neat groupings were plastic. They were met at the entrance by a green-skinned woman in her 40s, her pointed black hat as sharp as the green-painted talons clutching the clipboard. A large brick of an orderly stood behind her, jaw slack, drool dripping off his chin. Huge stitches bisected his face, as if he were cobbled together and parts didn't match. As they got out, the witch smiled, her white, sharp teeth bright against the pus green. Welcome! You must be Cheneys. So, nice to finally meet you, isn't it, Jerry? Good. I'm Serena. Once we have Mr. Cheney in his room, we can finish the paperwork. Hey, Rachel, welcome. Jace and Ellery caught their father before he could make a run for it. Monica stepped forward and smiled at Serena. Of course. Lead the way. Once inside the entrance, the hallways stretched into infinity, interrupted by doors with tiny barred windows. Serena led them to one with black paw print under the barred window and said, "Welcome, Mr. Cheney." Underneath it, Jerry dragged Dad into the room despite his muttered curses, strapping him into the high-backed padded chair. Jace put the duffel bag on the bed, surprised that the room was decent. Serena waved them out of the door. Once we have these particulars, you can leave a short visit, or you can have a short visit, or you can leave if you wish. I hear you. I can hear you, you skanky bitch. Serena's acid green eyes sparkled. At least you have something that still works. Never fear, Frank. We'll take good care of you. She led the trio down the endless hall to a nurse's station and into a dark office painted blood red. Sitting on the huge black chair decorated with finger bones, Serena flipped a page on the clipboard and smiled at them again. Monica and Jace sat in the guest chairs, Ellery uncomfortable behind them. Now, we need to know a few directives before you sign. How long has Mr. Cheney been blind? Jace clenched his fists. 3 years. Serena's brow rose. How does he manage full moons? The trio flinched. He doesn't. We have to tell him when the moon is full. Really? I didn't know it was dependent on sight. Monica's nose scrunched. It's not something that we discuss, but yeah, if no one can tell him, he doesn't change. It's better if you have a cell handy. He goes berserk. Serena's smile sent a shudder down Ellery's spine. Oh, it's not an issue. Any specific dietary requirements? Monica stared helplessly at Jace, but it was Ellery that answered. He has a thing for, yappy dogs. Serena flipped pages. No co-eds or Jehovah's Witnesses? Monica palmed her face. No. Well, there was that last spring with the Girl Scouts. Jace! Fine. No Girl Scouts then. Serena smiled. We do have a fantastic Taco Tuesday. It alternates between corn huskers and berry pickers in season. Wow, that sounds good, Jace said. Monica slapped his leg, but he didn't care. How will he get around, to hunt? Jace asked, unconcerned. Serena's smile widened. Oh, we have Dame Bathory, of course. Got herself drawn and quartered sometime around the French Revolution. Her legs never regenerated. Does your father have long ears when he changes? About so. She indicated ears of a foot in length. Shocked, the trio nodded. Serena laughed, writing a note down. Oh, wonderful. We'll just strap her to his back and she can use his ears to steer. Sign here. She flipped the clipboard around, extending a pen. Monica, Jace, and Ellery exchanged glances. One by one, they signed. He'll be okay here, being blind? Monica asked as she signed. Oh, my dear, he'll have the time of his life, however long he wants to be. The end. You're not sure you're ready? These are all, anonymous. Abigail. Not Abigail. Monty. Okay, give me titles. I'm going to go turn down the air conditioner because I'm getting cold. We are ready to see everybody's cringe. It is the cringe. I've shared my cringe on stream before. Come on, you can share your cringe. How to deal with your old furry grandpa werewolf home. Weird Wolf. You guys are making this hard. Werewolf, old folks home, poor guy. Werewolf home. How to deal with your old furry grandpa. Granddaddy's old and so is his bladder. Werewolf retirement center. Yeah, there was more than werewolves in the doghouse. In the old doghouse. What if we do in the old doghouse? Doghouse for the old. Yes. Doghouse retirement. How long until they euthanize? That is the question. Did anyone submit rap lyrics that they wrote in middle school? Well, it's funny that you should say that. Not rap lyrics, but this does have a note at the top that says, this is an excerpt of a Wizard 101 fanfiction I wrote when I was 12, LMAO. This sounds like one of the more, this seemed like one of the more cringy parts. Is this you, Abigail? You're gonna get some 12-year-old. Is this you, Abigail? Oh, is this something that you wrote like a year ago? Because you're a child? I went to the door of my dorm room, then hesitated before knocking. Ian asked me, were the girls in my school? Were the girls in my school? What? Were they nice? Were they even girls at all? I pressed my overly large and monkey-like hee-hee ear up against the door. I heard what sounded like 3 girls talking. Their voices gave the impression that they were nice. I hope. I finally mustered up courage and knocked on the door. The talking stopped, and they started whispering. Who's that? It can't be another girl. Do you think it's Professor Drake? Is it Jacob Freeman again? I think we need weapons. I got my wild branch sword. Use it, Tabitha. Oh my gosh, did you think that I was trying to break in? Okay, Julie and Riley, when I say go, we open the door and take a swing at them. Oh man. One. Oh geez. Oh geez. I don't want to take a sword to the face. Two. What do I do? What do I do? Three. It was now or never. Please, don't hurt me. My name is Courtney Hudson. I'm your new roommate. Headmaster Ambrose sent me. I yelled like a mad girl. I went silent. The room went silent for a moment. After a moment's pause, the door handle opened, and a girl wearing pink and yellow armor and a large sword with a thorny vine wrapped around it came to the door, looking at me like I was crazy. She was a very tall, very intimidating girl with light blonde hair and a single ponytail on the side of the shoulder, her evil-looking blue eyes staring at me as though saying, "What the heck do you want?" "What's your problem busting down people's doors?" she said to me with an attitude. I stood silently. "You better answer me, girl, or you'll have another thing coming." I said nothing. "Do you know who I am?" she asked me. Nothing. "Do you know who I am?" she repeated, anger seemingly growing. I finally started talking. We'll see. Exactly, she said. "Just another lowlife asking for an autograph. Tabitha, Tabitha, oh my gosh, it's Tabitha Ernest, the highest level wizard ever. She's level 80. She's an archmage, a pyromancer." She was rude, I could tell. She eyed me closely, evilly. Psh, novice, thurgist. Well, I guess you could stay here. I do need a couple tasks done, and I could never have too many followers, and a novice will tell all her little friends on how smart, high level, talented, and attractive I am. Come on, girl, before I change my mind, and you have no idea how many wizards would give to room with me. I stepped inside. Holy cow. There were 3 beds. Tabitha's side of the room, the biggest part of the room, was covered in photos of herself and mirrors. That vain little unicorn. I'm sorry. That was rude. There were 2 other girls standing in the middle of the room. One of them was very short, white hair, big red eyes. She looked like she was albino and was wearing a cap dress and boots colored light blue and white with ice emblems. The second girl with black spiky hair, sleepy gray eyes, and was wearing a ninja gear colored purple and green, most likely a storm wizard. But there was one thing wrong. Hey, zombie, thank you for that. And also picking a Shiba, top choice. I want to get a Shiba. You all know what I would name my Shiba. You already know. Love fire people. It would be Goro Mashima, yes. I would name him Goro. Shh. Where's my bed? I asked Tabitha. She turned at me all sassy-like. "Who said that you were gonna get a bed?" she said. No, 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 no. You are not worthy enough to get a bed. You're sleeping on the floor. The floor? Hold on a sec. Where was this in the contract? Excuse me, Tabitha. Tabitha stamped her foot on the ground. "Never say my name." She sounded so evil. "Okay, girl, listen up and listen good. I didn't drag you in here so that you could sleep on a bed. No, you're gonna be my servant." "Servant? Servant?" I blurted out. This was too much for Tabitha. She gripped her sword harder and pointed it near my face. It lit itself on fire. "Do you have a problem with that?" No, 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 no. Good. Now, girl, go fetch me my PJs. All this yelling that you got me doing tired me out. I hastily went into her chest, digging around, and found this frilly pink satin-type nightgown. "Took you long enough." Tabitha rudely snatched it out of my hands. "Now, if you will excuse me, I gotta change." She walked into the bathroom and locked the door. Now I was alone with Tabitha's followers. They didn't seem to pay any mind to me. I felt like the odd man out, or odd girl out. I surveyed the surroundings. No bed, no chest to put my belongings in, and I didn't have any sleepwear. What to do? What to do? This was sure to be a pickle. I jumped when I heard knocking. I suspected it was the headmaster, Ambrose. Ambrose. Friggin', I'm used to saying Ambrosia from doing a play. I suspected it was Headmaster Ambrose to check in to see that I was settled in. The albino girl walked over to the door and opened it. I was surprised to see that there was another girl. She had large brown eyes, chestnut braids, and she was wearing green and silver robes with the life emblem. Excuse me for barging in so rudely, but I believe that there had been a mix-up, she said. What mix-up? Said the diviner girl. I take it that you have received a new roommate this evening? The girls, the one in my dorm's eyes darted over to me. Yes, it so happens that the headmaster made a mistake in her room placement. She was supposed to come to my dorm room. It was as though a weight was lifted from my shoulders. Yes, I wasn't living with that vain little poor excuse of a fire wizard. Is someone named Courtney Hudson? Or someone here named Courtney Hudson? The Therogist girl asked. I automatically shouted, Yes, yes, me, I'm her. Who is talking when I am not in the room? Oh man, it was Tabitha. She came out of the bathroom in her silky nightgown with a threatening look on her face. What are you doing here, Olsen? She said to the Therogist girl. All I am doing, Tabitha, is taking back a student from this dormitory to the correct facility. Man, she is polite. Well, Amanda, she was brought here to be my servant. And besides, she likes being my slave. No, I don't. She does not, said the Therogist in a strangely calm way reminiscent of the balance girl who I met with Christopher. Don't you use that telepathy power on me, Tabitha yelled in an angry way. Telepathy? What? It is true, do not deny. Tabitha's face was red with rage. Fine, take her. I don't even want a Therogist in here anyway. I have a link spell. What was that? Oh, some kind of Legend of Zelda spell? The Therogist turned her head to me and said, Come. I know that you do not want to stay in here any longer. With one last glance at the room, I went with the Therogist girl and went to our room. Ooh, Spooky Years with Doghouse? Nice. Lots of fun. These broads are extra petty. Well, you know, written by 12-year-old Abigail, who is saucy on her own. This is just unrestrained child sauciness. Okay, we need a name. You want to strangle your past self? No. If you strangle your past self, you don't exist now. So no. It's called art. Art. I'm still going to put in parentheses wizard fiction. So we remember what it is when we're voting later. The game this fanfic was based on is my jam at the time. I have never even heard of this game. Zombie, this is Cringe Night. So everything that is being read tonight was user submitted by the group to write with the task of writing the cringiest thing that they could think of. And now we're just reading the entries, and then we're going to vote on the best entry, which we are now at number 8. That's pretty much it. And then we'll determine if we want to move on to doing starting the next Loin read or calling the night early. I will leave it up to you guys when we get there. But think about it. Granted, who knows how long any of the last 3 stories are. Worst Day of Hogwarts. Courtney was the first baby Mary Sue. Nice. You know, everybody goes through that phase. Okay, guys, get ready. Oh, I feel like this is already Chickies. I don't know. I feel like this is Chickies. If this is not Chicky, I will be surprised. Only because I'm... Is Chicky even in the house right now? Okay. This is the story of how I lost my virginity. It makes me moist every time I remember. You might think that it's pretty common, but I'm not like other girls. I'm actually a man. Oh no! Like the collective oh no. Okay. I woke up and went straight to the bathroom. After taking a piss, I went back to sleep. The next day, I woke up and had breakfast. Then I went to school. Every 3rd of May, the school had its annual masquerade ball to commemorate the death of Frederick Benson, the school founder. He killed himself in the director's office after the police found out that he was responsible for abusing 17 girls from school. He used to dress the girls with long gowns and masks, and then he hit them with a stick. The rest of the details are not PG-13. He blew his brains off with a hunting shotgun that his mother bought him for his 12th birthday. His mother lived in New Hampton when she was a kid until she was 23. Her breasts were round and hard, a mix of human meat and silicone that only the most expert of men could identify as fake just by looking at them, which required a lot of force of will to not get lost to their charm as they danced like two buoys adrift in the sea of sweat and pheromones as she walked, bouncing as ping pong balls every time she went down the stairs of her front porch. Her nipples could stare at you in a hard day as two Russian snipers in battle of wow, you're killing me. Suo before they died from frostbite. Her name was Letitia, but people called her Lettuce. When she moved from New Hampton to Indianapolis, she was already pregnant with Frederick. Father unknown, probably one of the many men that used her in a group sex sessions she used to attend. When Frederick was born, Letitia was working at a fast food restaurant. She had to stop cooking the hamburgers to give birth to him. Then she would continue cooking. Her boss didn't give her a minute of rest. Frederick grew up as a troubled boy. He was violent and abusive. Oddly enough, his mother indulged in his behavior. Every stray cat and dog she could find was brought to her home just so Frederick could torture and kill them. Letitia loved them, especially the dogs, and for her, eating them was the epitome of love and appreciation. That's why she always fantasized on killing and eating Frederick. She loved him that much. As mentioned before, on his 12th birthday, she bought a shotgun, a single buckshot, and a bow. This is for a very special occasion, she said when she gave it to him. You'll know when you see it. Letitia thought her son would kill her one day in her sleep. That was the way that she wanted to die, peacefully, not knowing when it happened. Instead, a truck drove over her 6 years later. The accident didn't kill her right away, and she suffered an agonizing death for 3 hours before she finally gave up. Frederick then decided to fund a school, and the rest is history. But today was just the middle of September, a boring, normal day in high school. You enter the class and sit, waiting for the teacher to show up. You check your clock. The teacher is late. Too late. You know that there's a rule that says that if the teacher is 15 minutes late, the students can leave with no consequence. So you stand, take your backpack, and leave. None of your classmates do so. Only you. The school halls are deserted. You walk straight to the exit. No laughs, no voices, nothing. It's as if you're the only one in the school. Your way home is also quiet and lonely. The cold wind touches your skin, reminding you that you had taken a sweater today, but you didn't. And then a car stops next to you. It happens so fast. You can see it. Someone puts a bag on your head. Then you get hit on the head. You wake up with a headache. The bag is still on your head. You see nothing. You hear nothing. Wait, no. You hear something. A cry. Faint. Distant. Muted. Where are you? You try to move, but you can't. Your hands and feet are tied. You try to speak, but there's something covering your mouth. Tape? I see that you're awake, a man says near you. I'm almost finished with the other one. Something cracks, then a muted moan. Good girl, the man continues. You're doing fine. You can only smell your own breath and the bag on your head. Blood. Your blood? This place where you were hit still, the place where you were hit still hurts. Maybe it's bleeding. Something cracks again, but there is no reply. Then a thud. Silence. For a minute or two, there was nothing. No sound, no movement, no smell, no light. You try to move, but it's impossible to do anything, so you give up. More time passes, and finally someone grabs you and lifts you from wherever you were sitting and throws you on a hard surface. Your movements and grunts have no effect. Don't worry, the man from before says. Soon you'll be complete. Then the bag from your head gets removed, and you get blinded by a bright light above your head. The smell of blood gets stronger. You squint as your eyes get used to the light. But out of the corner of your eye, at your left, you can see 3 people on the ground, naked, their bodies covered in blood. Before you can do anything, a needle pierces your stomach. Soon, you'll be perfect, the man says. You try to move, but your body is weak. You turn your head to the right. A naked teenage girl is still breathing, yet her arms and legs are disfigured, broken in so many pieces that no longer resemble the ones of a human being. Your eyes meet. Your heart fills with terror. There are no tears in hers. They are dry as her lips. How long has she been there? Let's start, the man says. Your head gets pushed harshly to face the light, and a second later the blade cuts through your right arm from the shoulder to your wrist slowly, your blood getting your arms and body wet and warm. Why aren't you screaming? You should be screaming. The pain is unbearable, but you can't scream. The man digs his fingers into the wounds in your arm, making tears down your face, yet still no screams, no movements. What was he doing? Why? See, this is the problem. You have 2 bones here. You should only have 1. The blade cuts again. You turn your head to this time in time to see a piece of flesh being removed from your arm. You're not going to need this anymore, he says. He grabs your radius, and with a strong movement, he pulls it away. Something cracks, and with it finally a scream. The man struggles until your radius finally gets ripped from your arm. A hand with blood quickly covers your mouth. Don't scream, he says with a sweet tone. You're better now. The guy on the table couldn't move, and the bleeding was too much. Dorothea looked at the doctor, and with a smirk, she went upstairs. Is Dad done with that kid? Little Timothy asked his mom as his mom closed the basement door. He's not your father, she exploded, smacking him in the face so hard that it hurt her hand. Timothy didn't cry. He knew crying would only make it worse. Even without touching his cheek, he walked to his room and sat on his bed. 28 years later, Timothy met the love of his life and lived happily ever after. The end. It was that really good. It was really was. It really is kind of good. I think that's part of the cringe. Is it kind of changed the story like 3 times. At least 3 times. Look, there are different ways to cringe. Oh yeah, we need a title for that. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, title. Mixed salad. Tossed salad. Different ways to cringe. How many stories were submitted? 10 were submitted. Wraith. We've got 2 more. Just 2 more. This next one. I'm supposed to read the top one or the bottom one. It's the same story, but twice. You're about to die? Oh no, don't die. Oh, because it's your cringe? Well, now you just gave away that your cringe is coming. It's either this one or it's the next one. Monty already made it the Creamy Diaries. Wait, this one is the Creamy Diaries? The Creamy Diaries? Is that what we're saying? Look, I listen. I just can't. I just have to catch up on the chat sometimes. Okay. A hard boiled crime story of one Hollywood star consumed by his own vices, who just so happens to be Paddington Bear. With Frank the Blind Werewolf. That was a really cute idea, Spooky. It was great. There's no wrong type of cringe, Linda. There is always any kind of cringe is allowed. And I think I'll do this again next year. So no worries. Be thinking about your cringe and just know we accept all kinds of cringe. Okay. Paddington Bear didn't know why there was a dead body sitting next to him, but he knew one thing. He was too high. Los Angeles didn't treat a bear like him well. Two mega successful blockbusters became the wind under his wings as a generation of Bugman proclaimed him as the new messiah. But cocaine doesn't pay for itself, and pulling tricks behind one too many alleyways had squandered his fortune. Now there were men after him. The greatest fascist purge brought by Brexit had rendered his beloved English Isle hostile to the Peruvian refugee such as himself. He had nowhere to run to, only finding escape in his dreams. He could no longer dream, at least not without a line to give him his edge. There was only the blackness of sleep and the escape of the drugs. Yes. What do you mean, Vanya? That said, owing $85,000 to the cartel can be a powerful force of encouragement. Thus, the 3-foot bear rushed to sell the script to Paddington 3, The Berry Christmas to You, as quickly as possible. In his groggy mind, he remembered long nights of furious typing, his brain cooked on pots of black coffee, his paws aching with arthritis, and then the sweet release of cocaine. But the path from those spurious moments was broken to whatever had transpired by his bedside. Whatever had happened the previous night through, though, had rendered him worse off. His script was missing, and in its place was the nameless man. Was he a hooker? A thief? A studio executive come to give him the bad news? Possibly even a dealer? Paddington couldn't tell. His wallet had no clues, just a wad of cash. Whatever had happened, no. Paddington was in no condition to be dealing with a body at this time, especially in what appeared to be his Sunset Boulevard motel room, and he could already feel his grisly instincts beginning to overpower his common sense. The body just smelled too delicious. This primal instinct were more powerful than his free will. Paddington found himself dragging the man into the old motel bathtub, already lined with black mold and cockroaches. He wasn't going to make it any messier. He found himself digging into the meat of the poor man's arm, enjoying the juices and tastes his normally pacifistic family never partook in. Although he briefly yearned for a jar of marmalade to ease the flavors, he tasted fatty. He quickly reached an impasse, though. Paddington was but a cub, and a 240-pound adult man was more than he could handle. He found himself unable to continue, merely gnawing on an exposed femur as his stomach growled. And then he vomited. The vomit began to pour the contents of his stomach out into the toilet. There was no way to hide the evidence now. The bathroom looked too much like an abstract painting now, covering in fluids of every sort, let alone the fact that there weren't many sentient bears running around Hollywood. A little black bear such as himself wasn't going to get much mercy. He had until the homemaker entered his room to flee, find his script, and come up with a good alibi, or better yet, flee the country for a Central American country with no extradition treaty. Did Peru have one? Hell if he knew. He was high. Paddington crawled across the floor to his bed and searched for his meager belongings, his computer, his vest, his hat. The spare jar of marmalade he kept in his cap, empty. Naturally, he managed to manipulate his muscles enough to turn on the cheap, moldy coffee machine in the hotel. He sat upward on his end of the bed, delicious and barely conscious until he heard the coffee machine ding. He poured the black fluid down his throat, cutting through a stomach acid and human viscera that lined his mouth. He coughed hard. He finally felt awake and cleaned himself up, exiting the hotel. He slipped the Do Not Disturb sign over the handle, enough to dissuade curious bystanders from the Tarantino scene he concocted inside the room. He heard quiet Spanish mumblings and a wheel of squeaky carts around the corner and looked down at his furry chin and clothes. No blood, no questions. Act normal, he mumbled to himself in an adorable British accent. Barely sober. He immediately started walking. He didn't have a plan, but he just needed to put a distance between himself at the motel. He found himself quickly traversing the dark streets, wandering from junkie den to homeless enclosure, trying to swipe cheap scores off the disheveled. These mean streets were tough, even for a hardened ruffian like himself. He needed the extra money, even if it wouldn't get him far. It wasn't long, though, for the shadows to start growing closer around him. He could smell it. Someone had picked up his furry little tail. That's when he felt cold steel brush his neck. A 7-foot-tall man in a coat stood behind him, briefly mumbling something about not turning around before the bear caught the being in his peripheral vision. Every hair on his body stood up. Who was it? What was he doing? What did he know? You owe Consuela Sanchez money, Bear. Did you think that you could get away with 8 pounds of Peruvian white so easily? Oh, good. He just wanted drug money. Paddington was relieved. Oh, shit! He wants drug money? The gunman began mumbling vaguely at the bear, hiding the cold steel in a coat and guiding the 3-foot bear inconspicuously back to the stairs. Paddington dug the motel key to his room out of his computer bag and nervously opened the door and felt himself shoved inside. The sound of wheels and board chattering circles of the motel quieted for a moment. Paddington felt his arms buckle as he hit the ground, his paws pushing his body up from the shaggy wool floor of the room. The door slammed. The tall assassin removed his hat and looked down at the pitiful creature. You got something the lady wants. Fortunately for you, this is Hollywood. There's always a way to pack back a big hairy bear like myself. Paddington Bear didn't like the sound of that. His body chilled again as he heard sounds of a grown man does not want to hear another grown man make, undressing, a cold zipper. The man began to move toward his crouch, signaling the depraved act. I think that's supposed to be depraved act. The depraved act that he had changed far too many careers in the town. Snap! Paddington Bear's instincts flared again. He growled deeply. He'd bitten deep into the assassin's crotch with sharp teeth and a jaw capable of crushing a car, severing an artery. Once again, the motel played home to another pouring of bodily fluids as the panicked assassin rolled around in pain and felt the life draining out of the hole where his manhood had once been, one long arch of blood at a time. Once again, it took a while for his ears to stop ringing and for his mind to clear enough for him to make a clear-headed decision. He quickly realized that he was back where he started, but now with a second body on his conscience. He pushed thoughts concerning the weight of his actions deep into his mind. He needed solutions, not moralizing. He needed his script or $1,000 to pay off the cartels, who would probably saw his furry little head off if he didn't come up with an excuse for why their assassin was freshly mauled. He needed to get out, but he also needed to assess the situation. He needed a plan. He searched through the pockets of his attempted rapist's overcoat, finding this little evidence of his identity. Only items a man who kills people would keep on his person. A knife, gloves, glasses, etc. Then suddenly something slipped out of his pocket and hit the ground. Paddington dropped the coat and saw it. A large bag of cocaine. The man had been carrying, probably dropping off a few $1,000s worth of goods at some distribution centers on the side job. His mind clouded again. His reason disappeared. He needed to get out of this room, to get out of Tinseltown, to get out of America. But the sweet taste of candy was too overpowering. His enormous furry paws ripped open the bag and he felt himself carried away, his mind overcome with an energy. He was alive again. Finally. He felt himself energized. His entire brain felt activated. He pulled out his computer and began typing and typing and typing. Words flowed out of his claws onto the page, almost cracking the keyboard under his furious strength. The entire script of his Paddington Christmas movie was there again, no longer lost in the hands of some partier or cheap hooker backseat. He felt his sentimentality and charming ideas flow out of him once again, the first pure thoughts that he'd had today. Then, after what seemed like hours, he laid back in bed. He pulled a cigarette from the dead pocket of the assassin and puffing along a slow breath, filling the small room, smelling the copper and innards with new smells. He might have a way out of this, he thought to himself. Of all the great stars of Hollywood who pulled the crazier stunts than he hadn't even dropped a racial slur. He hadn't killed two people in a cocaine... Who hadn't killed two people in a cocaine rampage, am I right? A cool $800 million domestic earn from a new movie would bury the hatchet, followed by some apologies, some ass-kissing, and maybe a donation to the ACLU. Accountants liked apologies. He stood up, stretched, and walked to the door, his head pounding, his ears ringing again, his body almost moving by itself. He opened the door and suddenly found himself blinded by flashing blue and red lights. It was the police. It was a lot of police. He was completely surrounded. Searchlights flashing in his sensitive bare eyes. He heard yelling on all sides. "Get on the fucking ground! Don't move! You're surrounded, you sick bastard!" Who called them? Paddington wondered what gave it away. Was it the cleaning crew seeing him at gunpoint? Was it the smell of tobacco and vomit leaking from the AC? He didn't know. He found himself momentarily stunned, but like any good celebrity, he felt the first instinct. He felt that day boil up inside of him. That wasn't man-eating. He began screaming in the smarmiest British accent that he could muster. "Who the fuck do you think you are? Do you know who my dad is? I'm going to call a manager and you guys are going to have to answer to the government office for arresting a national icon. What don't you fucking understand?" It didn't work. He only felt claustrophobia as guns and lights encircled his rapidly narrowing space. Suddenly, he felt something cold in his hand as he reached into his pocket. At some point in his rampage, he grabbed the assassin's gun. He looked up, and like a good plagiarist, he grinned and pulled to mind the first line of his favorite movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. "Oh, good. For a moment there, I thought you were trouble." His arm flexed, and before the small pistol could reach the air, he felt his body perforated. Hundreds of pellets of cold tore through fur and bone, ripping his small cub body to shreds. He felt Tommy guns and assault rifles pouring into him at all sides. The bullets kept pouring. The cops emptied into him like Bonnie and Clyde, turning the once picturesque side of a building into a mess of bloody and bare. Paddington felt his being slowly ripped away with each tear, each hold, each part of his body and mind ripped from him. His final sensation was the feeling of coldness, of a depth that he never felt possible. It was either the emptiness of the void or the cruel coldness of the deepest depth of hell, where the traitors are dragged into an inferno of ice and crushed forever in the jaws of evil forever. He wasn't sure what awaited him, but he stopped thinking at all. Quickly, Paddington was no more. And TMZ felt very proud that they caught it all on video. There we go, the end. Childhood Unchanged. I never watched Paddington. I never watched Paddington either. The story really activates your brain. Everyone is a degenerate. Well, I mean, everyone's a degenerate in their own way. That doesn't really fit into the song, but he's fabric. It's not a mystery. This was a masterpiece. Look, they've all been masterpieces. I don't know what you're talking about. But did the police just shoot a child, let alone a child bear? Is it legal to shoot bears in California? Okay, we need a title. And then it's time for us to remember that Vanya is next. Ruth said barely sober. Okay, barely sober. I don't think you can shoot anything. Fair. That's fair. Okay, we got barely sober. I would like to just call this last one. Freaking Vanya's dream fic. You're going to die, everyone? Vanya, what did you do? She's like, this is the smut scene that they didn't actually include in Lightlark Romance Edition. This is the romance scene that Vanya actually wanted. If you insert an egg, Vanya. I'm actually... Everybody has been very creative with their versions of Cringe tonight. It's been very interesting. I like it. Okay. Grim sat in his bedroom in nightshade, in steaming anger. He sprawled himself on the bed, curling his fists. It's been a week since the curses had been broken by Isla. Yet his enchantment, like lust for her, was still there. Why? Why, Oro? That boring sunling. Why did she choose him? Sure, the plan with Celeste was for him to make her forget about him so that she could get the Sunling King to fall in love with her, and it worked too well. It backfired and led to Ila falling in love with Oro, despite Grimm's constant flirting and her slowly regaining memories of their hot, passionate sex. Despite the basis of true love, sharp as cotton, restraint of wolf, that was the sum of Grimm. Grimm was unleashed! He thought about all that could have gone wrong. He thought about everything that could have happened the past 100 days. A smirk grew on Grimm, and he kept growing and growing. I could bring you back to Nightshade Lands, Grimm said weeks before. It's still true. Grimm debated whether to act upon his heart's desire. Before he could do anything else, a fiery portal opened. Out came a tall, elfy woman. Her complexion was like the sun. Golden. Her orbs were gold as well, like when you boil an egg and it gets to the point between soft-boiled and hard-boiled, when it still has yolk, but it's not that runny anymore. The best kind of boiled egg. You can personally fight me on that right now. Go ahead, do it. I'm coming for you. Medium-boiled egg haters and people who hate eggs in general. Eggs are God's gift. So is eggnog. It is also God's gift, and I am sick of people telling me that I shouldn't like it. And if you hate eggs, you are a heathen that deserves to have their hangnails pulled back. Anyway, her robes were as dark as her soul was, one would say. Though, if that were true, her clothing would be invisible. The elfy woman immediately shoots lightning from her fingertips, knocking Grimm to the floor. His body ran with electricity. He wasn't going to die, but sure. but he sure felt helpless. Not like how Ela constantly felt. The spell just temporarily drained his energy. She examined him with cold, mean, gold orbs, ones that Grim could look into for days. In that moment, Grim realized that he would give anything, everything, for her. It was lifted from your mind. Good night, Barry. Hey, Nightmare, welcome. She continued orbing him. Then, I like orbing as a freaking, it's like survey. She continued orbing him, then glanced around Grim's room. She looked out the window at the moon. It seems I'm not in the Mundus anymore, she said smoothly. Grim ignored the fact that he had no idea what the woman said. Instead, he tried his best to get on his feet, though he kept failing, miserably. The woman looked back at Grim, examining his face. What are you? I'm a nightshade. Is this your OC? Is that kind of human here? Grim paused, blinking. I'll be honest, I don't know. It was never made clear to anyone. She scrunched her nose and forehead. All right then. What's your name? She's from Skyrim. Well, I'm Grimshaw, but I go by... She held up her hand. I asked for your name, not your moniker. Anyway, Grimshaw, I suppose that I should introduce myself. I am Elenwen, the Thalmor ambassador of Skyrim. Elenwen said with pride in her voice. I found a spell that can take me to other worlds. I thought that I would be in a different realm, not a completely unrelated universe. How fascinating. Grimshaw stared at Elenwen up and down as he stood up. Grimshaw grinned. So, Elenwen, if you are curious about my world, may I offer you all that Nightshade has? We are known for our exploration of the debaucherous. Grim smirked. Elenwen briefly smirked for a moment. I'll keep that in mind. But I'm not here to indulge myself in things that are of sanguine. There are more important matters to me. Like what? Grim frowned. Now, see, Grim's not grinning anymore, or smirking, he's frowning. Elenwen thought to herself, thinking, before I tell you that I need you to answer a little question for me, she said, showing a ghost of a smile. Yes? Grim smirked. Do you believe that a man could become God? Nope, Grim answered, not even giving the question a thought. She gave a very evil, mean smile. Good. My occupation and the very purpose of Thalmor is to make sure that everyone remembers that fact, and those who ignorantly refuse the fact are, to say euphemistically, they go to meet their true makers. Yeah, as they should, Grim said absent-mindedly, his head instead filled with images of Elenwen. Before I go on, out of curiosity, what are the gods in this world like? Grim thinks. His face drops. The world shattered and unshattered, froze and unfroze like a fifth grader in 2011 discovering PowerPoint transitions. No idea. Oh, so your gods tend to keep to themselves more? Maybe. We know nothing about them. I'm not actually sure if we have any. Is this animism, then? Elwyn tilted her head in confusion. No, I flat out know nothing. We have churches and pray, yet we have nothing. Elenwen squinted her orbs in disbelief. By the divines, who or whatever created this world put no thought into giving it actual structure, did they? Elenwen gave a confused glance aside, as if to some invisible audience. So, ignoring that tragedy, the reason that I am here is to find an artifact that, if used in a certain way, can grant someone one Kim. What's that? It's a state where one can become more powerful, more knowledgeable than a god. I wish to find it and take its power for the Dominion. It can give power to the other realms, Elwyn explained, grinning. Grimshaw's eyes opened. I think I have an idea of how to find what you're talking about. You do. We have the heart of Lightlark. It bonds to whoever holds it, and I personally know who holds it. Elenwen smiled flirtily and plays with Grim's night black hair. Good. Good. So, would we be able to gain the heart by killing her? I don't see why. Elenwen smacked him. Grim smirked. Oh ho ho! I like it when they are feisty. You will let me finish my sentence, Grimshaw. But I do thank you for your valuable information. Elenwen tilted Grimshaw's head as she got closer to him, towering over him. Grimshaw grinned. Soon after some banter, Grimshaw unleashed his power by teleporting them both to the Palace of Mirrors. Wait, it's the Palace of Mirrors. Well, that's stupid. It's the Place of Mirrors. They spend some time trying to find Isa. It's now Isa in here. They also get rid of her. What? Did you expect me to do my job and write out the events that would actually make the plot richer? You want a plot that makes sense? No. Look at my girl boss, Elenwen. Elenwen did it by herself. She's strong, independent, beautiful. Elenwen's face and eyes shone under the sun that looked like the same color as scrambled eggs. I never understood why people preferred scrambled eggs as opposed to over easy. The latter is delicious, nice, and yolky. And I mean, over easy eggs are messy, but it's worth it, okay? It's not even really messy if you eat it the way that I do. Like, I eat the whites of the egg, saving the yolk for the last, and eating it in one bite. It's so good. Grim glares at Isla's body, then back at Elenwen. You're so experienced. How old are you? I'm 150, she said smoothly. Grim cocked an eyebrow. Oh, I usually don't date that old. It's understandable. I assume that that there aren't any elves in this world. Yep, it's also a fact that in all my 540 years in life, I tend not to date girls older than 25. Elenwen had a face of both confusion and offense. She stayed silent as she took that to heart. The egg. As Elenwen casted a spell on it, it became darker, less yolky. Brief, more than 6-second images of people came on it. Several of them were dancing. It had an aura of pure corruption, mind-warping evil, meanly evil. Finally, mankind will know that elven supremacy is the only truth. She chuckled evilly. Grim blinked. Wait, what? Elenwen activated the heart. Suddenly, immediately, they both freaked out, suddenly becoming aware of everything. Elenwen was hyperventilating. I'm a game in a character. A minor character. Grim was no longer grinning. You complain about that? At least that game is loved. I'm a poorly made love interest in a shitty young adult novel. I'm a joke. Elenwen grabbed a purple and green parrot and shook it. Why did you do this? Why did you do this to us? Did you know that you can feed birds hard-boiled eggs? It's weird. I can't even write the human equivalent of that because it is so weird. Can you even... What in oblivion are you talking about? The hell? No, it wasn't me. Some chick named Abigail, and that's not really her name, told me to do it, the bird lied, with fear, shaking, vibrating with motion. Elenwen, is this a group effort, you guys? Elenwen squeezed the bird's throat. I know you're the one doing this, Catherine. Yeah, Catherine. I know you wrote this for a cringe writing live stream. I know you wrote that you were I know right now you are listening to us. Grim had loud wails of sadness in the distance. Why did you do this to us? She shook the bird more. I did it for the memes. The bird closed her eyes, not moving. Elenwen dropped it. The bird immediately woke up and flew off, completely fine. So, what now? Grim asked, soulless. Well, You were such a big help. I still should give you something in return, Ellen Wynn said, sexily winking. Really? What will that be? Grim grinned. Ellen Wynn had sparks coming out of her fingertips as she smirked. Well, get down on your knees and I'll show you, my pet. The end. Is your real name Catherine? Was this a name reveal of the parrot? Sexicity intensifies. Your greatness right now. There we go. The round of applause for everybody in the chat. I may only sound like there is one of me clapping, but just pretend that it is like a whole horde of people because I can only have one set of hands. Share the original title. So demanding. So freaking demanding, Vanya. There you go. There is your original title. The Elder Scrolls 6 Lightlark. You need I've thought about it. I just haven't really set up the deck for sound effects, and I should. I've been meaning to. The cringiest loins of the larking light. Amazing. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. So I want to know from you guys. I'm like, I don't have a phone, but I want to know. Actually, I'm gonna save it. Keep in your brains. Be prepared. Because I'm going to post in the Discord later for an anonymous vote on your favorite cringe stream fic. Because this weekend, I'm going to shoot the LoinStream Awards, and the cringiest story gets the loin. So, be in the Discord so you can vote and pick who gets the loin. I should save what the loin looks like. Because it doesn't actually get mailed out to anyone because I only have one of them. And nobody gave yours a good title? Oh, it's the art, the wizard fic. Somebody said art. That's all that we got. Not enough vote. This is true. It is absolutely true. So, thank you everybody for submitting your stories to the loin. Because that happened. Now I have to ask you, as we bask in your greatness, would you like to start the loin read? Or call it an early night? Those are your choices. But everybody did do an excellent job, and if you don't vote, I will notice. And I will also usurp who gets the cringe award. And I don't know if you want that. Okay, I'm going to go grab the thing right now. As you guys discuss, I am in the background grabbing things to go read anyway. Like opening Kindle. You're good with either? For the wizard cringe? Oh, look. Oh, I forgot. There's a freaking... The second height of perdition is on there. I was like, what the frick? A breath of creation. Oh, yeah. For my brother's spot. Hey, Arminus. Welcome to we got like 4 or 5 new mistakes tonight. But both is okay. I'm glad that you cringed and laughed all the way through. It was super fun. Everybody be thinking about it. If you want to do this again next year, be thinking about it. Because then you'll know that it's coming up and you can prepare yourself whenever you feel the urge to write cringe. Welcome to the first annual Cringies. Yes. Good night, Mike. Don't worry, we're only going to go for probably an hour. I should actually, though, drop these into a spreadsheet. You know, keep discussing amongst yourselves while I make this into a vote very quickly while the titles are still there. Forms. What am I doing? Oh no. Oh hey, that worked out really well. Best 20, I should say favorite 2022 cringe. Okay. Loining's Cringe edition. Okay. Which means I can now drop this in the chat. Vote for your favorite cringe. Okay. Now we good. I don't think I've seen anybody that I haven't recognized. Just people that haven't come to the LoinStream before. You were already exposed. Yeah, you were. Oh, and we know Spooky. Okay. With that out of the way, it is now time. Oh, you have been in the LoinStream before this? Then I guess it was only you haven't posted in the LoinStream since I started the thing about making everybody a mod, which that started with Yakuza. Well, thank you for hanging out, Victoria, especially because it's late, because I know that that is a difficult choice. Okay, chapter 1. I think this is also, yeah, this is only 130 pages. So it might just be this week and next week that we do this book. Only 7 p.m. for you. So, Shauna got a new job at a movie theater. We thought we'd play a fun prank on her, and now most of us are dead, and I'm really starting to feel kind of guilty about it. I'd like to say that it wasn't my idea, that we all thought of it spontaneously and just started saying parts of it as a prank out loud that jigsawed together into the air. 1/4 my plan, 1/4 Danielle's, Tim and JR competing to finish out the rest. It was kind of only me, though. Let me explain. First, Shauna's job at the movie theater, the big one down by the lake. Her mom was making her do it, not work. Shanna had jobs since she was in junior high, but working there specifically, her checks going straight home to pay for what happened on their side of the lawn, which is a whole different thing and not my fault at all. Not completely. The reason that it was that movie theater and not the dollar show or the drive-in or the even bigger Cineplex further down 30 toward Dallas was, first, it was that one's the main one in Rockwall and closest, but second, and probably the real reason, Shanna's mom had dated that theater's main security guy in high school and could keep an eye on his long ago ex-girlfriend's daughter, he thought. 2 weekends in, Shanna used her usher powers to sneak us in the emergency exit at the back of Theater 14, the last one on that side and the farthest from the manager's office, which is where the security was. It was less because we wanted to see a movie than it was that we wanted the thrill of not paying for a movie. You know, anyway, with assigned seating, we were having to move the 4 of us to a new place with about every third clump of people who came in. It was kind of a giveaway, ended up with the assistant manager coming in to count heads and us claiming that we'd thrown our ticket stubs away already. Who keeps ticket stubs? Duh. The only problem was that we couldn't remember where our seats had been. It probably would have worked, or it could have worked, but then the assistant manager asked what movie this even was, and surely we knew that, right? Not really. Worse, It turned out to be a senior citizen kind of movie. Four old dudes escaping their nursing home and doting children in county jail situation to have one last golf game, which was when we all kind of shrugged and gave up. Better to get busted than to claim having wanted to see that. Because we were sophomores, the same as Shayna, it didn't take long before they were asking her questions about did she maybe know us. Of course, we all temp unfriended her while being perp walked out, but that didn't erase snapshots, and there were a lot of those. Even under the filters and makeup, it was kind of obviously the five of us from elementary and up until that very night, including one group selfie from our stolen seats posted right on her timeline. So the result of us sneaking in and not knowing to sit in the very front row until the show started was A, Shanna would now work in tandem with a more trusted experience provider, and B, there would be random headcounts of all movies that she was in charge of. It was bullshit, especially since she could be making more in tips at the car wash with Danielle because of the porta potty situation. Girls didn't work there so much, so they pulled 10s and even 20s sometimes, but she still had 600 to go in paying her mom's landscaping tab, so she was stuck. Anyway, the prank. And JR lives kind of out of the sticks, right out in the sticks, right? Way out on Rabbit Ridge, technically in Heath. Back behind his fence, there's this big hill that we used to roll down in boxes. Stupid kid stuff. Pretty much turned us into an instant chigger bait. So we were looking like that we had these pimples before we even really had them. Anyways, in 6th grade, Tim was going for the record in his box, and it crashed him through the trees into the dark, stinky muck of a creek that had never been actual water. It had always just been mud. None of us went in there anymore since Danielle had gotten poison oak or ivy, or we didn't know. So we were all standing there waiting when Tim came back out limping, bleeding from his forehead. Ah! I just messed up my page. Bleeding from his forehead and carrying a pale white arm kind of bent in cheery fashion at the elbow. We braved the woods to see the rest of this. There in the back slime of the creek bed was a naked white mannequin, this giant Ken doll reaching for the sky with one arm he had left. You better believe that he was our toy for that whole summer. We traded him between our houses, carrying him a piece at a time, a bungee corded to a skateboard and bikes, or stuffed halfway into the camp backpack. We stole our dad's clothes to dress him up and leave him here and there. He had so many names, but he was finally just Manny. For, mannequin. Real clever. I know. It did say somebody died, yes. When we finally got bored with him, he ended up in my garage, straddling the Kawasaki 750 my dad had laid over, the motorcycle forbidden by my mom from ever being ridden again. But that didn't mean my dad had to sell it, which is a whole thing with them, but never mind. So Manny was a joke from when we were kids, before life had gotten all serious and SAT. Me having the idea to bring him back for the perfect prank was a way of honoring the kids that we'd been, I figured. And it would be the one last blast for Manny. Better, Shayna would get to the joke right off. That was very important. It was kind of how we'd be telling her that we were sorry for the hot water at her new job. Well, and for the landscaping that she was paying off with that job. For a lot of stuff, okay? And I mean, she'd always been the toughest of us, the meanest when she needed to be, the least likely to cry or complain about cuts or scrapes, the best at earning Wood Scouts badges, but that didn't mean that she didn't like nice things too, we figured. Like being included in a prank to end all pranks. That one the one that could someday summarize our whole high school experience and right now blast us off into the future in the most fitting way. I mean, come on. So we raided our dad's closet again and dug into the costume trunk in our old fort that nobody found yet, way back in the trees behind Holy Trinity. We were needing clothes for Benny, but for us as well. So we were going 90s baggy for the Friday night. Danielle shoved a whole mannequin arm down her leg of her pant that she was wearing, which kind of made us all look away, but like not look away. I mean, okay, Danielle was always just one of us girls, one of us, a girl, yeah, whatever, but she never like been like a dating prospect, right? Mostly because none of us were dating. It didn't need boyfriends or girlfriends since we had each other, or maybe we just didn't have the nerve and were hiding in the safety of friendship. I don't know. It doesn't really matter now. And Shayna was like my third cousin on my mom's side anyway, but Danielle, the thing with her, why she had never been in the realm of possibility, it was probably that we'd all seen each other in that snotty noses in elementary school, and we were all ridden with acne ridden the acne highway in junior high school together, and now we were telling each other horror stories about the swarm of college questions constantly spewing up from the mouths of grandparents and family friends. It's like we were too close for anything romantic, if that makes any sense. Any of us going out with any of the rest of us had never been a real consideration, or even a distant maybe, you know? Still, seeing the mannequin arm reach down the front of her pants, it had to kind of look far, far away. And I don't know about Tim and JR, but then she did the same with the other arm and tied the bandanas around her thighs to keep the arms in place. And part of me was wondering why she hadn't been playing with particular games for a long time already. That's 2 limbs, JR said helpfully. The legs were 1,000 times trickier. We ended up in Tim's uncle's shop in an old part of Rockwell, his uncle using a bandsaw to slice the legs in half top up to bottom, the long ways, then drilling holes for the dowels so that they could be pushed back together. Because we'd told him about the joke we were playing on Shayna, he comped us a roll of duct tape to hold the legs back together. Then, when we were leaving, he shook his head, and he said that it must be great to be young and endlessly stupid. He's a good guy, really. If I were ever going to be his age, I think that I'd want to be just like him. Mostly. Good night, Arminus. And bye, Abigail. Good night. Good luck with your outline. And also Usagi, looks like. Oh, you're still here? Okay. Well, that's good. Anyway, with the legs cut into pieces like that, Tim got both lower parts into his biggest backpack and slung one of his dad's shirts over it. It looked fake as hell, but would anybody at concessions risk asking the hunchback kid if he was smuggling anything in or not? JR used his old soccer bag for most of the other leg pieces, and we duct taped it to the middle for a stomach because 2 hunchbacks in one screening might be pushing it. I picked up the last foot, hefted it under my arm, and looked ahead at the uncertain future. You just going to carry it, Sawyer? Danielle said, like a challenge. It most definitely was. I nodded. Yeah, and it wasn't a lie. What I did was wrap it in cardboard and brown packing tape. My story was going to be it was a lamp my mom had wanted me to pick up from the repair shop, and the window on my car, I don't have a car, it wouldn't roll up, and I couldn't just leave it in the parking lot, could I? My bet was that while the theater might have new rules about carrying backpacks and stuff in, it wouldn't have a repaired lamp policy, and once anybody hefted it once or twice, it would obviously not be some kind of crazy assault weapon. JR couldn't get away with this since his dad was a known gun nut and all, so people just assumed that he had some of those bullet-shaped genes, but my dad was mostly concerned with figuring out what kind of mileage our new electric car was getting and how much that was saving us per month, per year, and into the hybrid future. So I wouldn't get any second looks, could tap dance right past the box office with whatever. I'm pretty sure, in fact. To prove it, I just dropped the head into a plastic shopping bag so that it was completely seeable to anyone who gave it half a look. But if you saw a human head in a bag and someone in line for a fountain drink, would you say something? And I mean, like, if I were the one holding that bag and my record was super spotless, all of my emotional meltdowns far in the past, you wouldn't give me a second look, probably not even a first look. Nobody would. The torso we put into the trash bag, we rubbed actual trash all over, then leaned up against the wall in an alley at the emergency exit. It was Theater 4. Danielle had coasted by the box office, checked that out for us, her hair pulled into her face so that she could be just any girl on another Friday night. We got in without any hassle, paid this time. We're even in the theater early enough to pop the emergency exit door without any problems. Tim did a big fake fall on the stairs on the opposite side of the high, his drink going everywhere, JR acting offended and maybe ready to fight about it, and nobody looking over at me holding the door open so Danielle could drag a suspicious trash bag in. We waited until the trailers to assemble Manny, but had to lie down in the front of the very front row to do it. It was gross. Our hair and shirts kept sticking to the floor, and we knew the story about the senior football players sitting in the back row and peeing in secret, letting it run all the way down to the screen where we were. When it was done, our throats raw from how much we had to cough to cover the duct tape tearing, each of us took on an assigned article of extra clothing off, dressing Manny up in them, topping his outfit off with my dad's Redskins cap that he wore all ironically for working in the garage that I was sure that he'd never miss and would probably be better without. On the count of 3, then, when the movie seemed darkest, we stood up with him. We stood up with him. Carrie walked him up to a seat that we'd bought him, even going so far as to thumb his ticket stub in the front pocket of his shirt with a handkerchief square. We didn't know if this was Shayna's theater or not. She never found her assignments out until that she came in, and then it could change for no real reason. So the way that we picked it was by movie we actually wanted to see. It was part 3 of a Juggernaut, a superhero series, and we'd seen the first 2 about 10 times already. Tracking it from this theater to the dollar show, up to the drive-in, to the rentals and bootlegs, not necessarily in that order. It was Manny's first experience in the theater, of course, and he never blinked. Chapter 2. We should have guessed that what was going to happen next, what had to happen. We were all hopeful and stupid, though, and yeah, probably feeling kind of bulletproof. One of our friends worked here, didn't she? What could go wrong? And it wasn't like that we hadn't paid for it this time, so sure, we were sort of banned, but did the assistant manager really expect that to hold? Would he rather we pirated everything on his marquee? Wouldn't that ruin the movie industry and contribute to juvenile delinquency, sir? Anyway, about halfway through the movie, JR went down to the concessions, filled his small fountain drink cup with a blue icy, and volunteered to the junior taking his money that someone had just sneaked into Theater 4, was disturbing the peace and saying lines out loud with the heroes and heroines. I don't know how he phrased it, but it worked. That's what's important. A few minutes later, the assistant manager and the manager rolled in with Shayna's mom's security guard X, their faces grim, flashlights in hand, and 2 or 3 experienced providers ranging out behind them to get some more experience. But then, after some whispering, the X ducked out, and the rest of them waiting there along the curtain wall so patiently, the assistant manager's loafers tapping to get this started already. About 30 seconds later, the quiet little lights under the stairs steps dialed up bright. Some people in the audience gasping, and then the footlights sucked back in the completely other way to blackness and took all of the little hidden lights along the wall down with them, stranding the theater about 5 seconds in inky black, except for the escape sign, which, I guess, never goes off. It was weird. Kind of made me feel like my whole seat was floating away with me, that all of the seats let go, and we were drifting up wherever now. We're going to probably slam down when the lights come on. Or maybe it was just me and my heart. I don't know. My Coke wasn't coming up through its own straw anyway, and popcorn wasn't drifting around at my eye level. It was probably just the weirdness of being in public place with so many people and then suddenly being all alone too, if that makes any sense. Except for that green light flickering exit sign. I used it for my anchor, told myself that it wasn't getting any smaller, that it wasn't sinking away from me, and held onto it the best that I could until the security guy X at the light switch found the balance, brought the stair lights back up a smidge like he probably had been told to. And in the new light glow, yes, just like we'd been praying, one of the experience providers that we'd roped into this was Shayna. She was wearing that black slacks that she'd borrowed from Danielle, that Danielle said that she'd never wanted back, and they were all cinemucked up. And she had had these green transparent visors on that everybody from the theater was wearing to promote that new bank teller movie or whatever. It's not important. It really isn't. And while she didn't see me, I've thought and thought about this. I'm pretty sure that she maybe did see Danielle and kind of tried to look away like, uh-oh. And it turned out, uh-oh was right. The manager and the assistant manager were ducking up and down in the rows, and we were all in like our far out from each other. We're not in a group, strategically, distantly, ungilted seats, just trying to enjoy the movie that we paid for, and each ticket stub that showed up under the dim flashlight was one ticket stub closer to us fizzing over with so much held back laughter. We'd put Manny in the best seat in the house, of course. That translated to about the hardest one to get to. And since the manager was working from the top, the assistant manager from the bottom, it was also just about the last. I guess maybe the idea was that in a house half full like this, it being the fifth or sixth week of a movie already, the best seats would have been taken already, meaning the sneakers in would have to take what's left. I was already planning how I wasn't going to say directly to Shayna that this was my idea, but she'd be able to connect the dots. We all knew which of us still had Manny, right? It was going to be perfect, wonderful, legendary. The story takes a turn. We're waiting for it, Ruth. Until the assistant manager actually got to the middle seat. I couldn't see Danielle's or Tim's or JR's eyes, Shayna's either, and I could feel them looking at me and each other. What we'd expected was for the assistant manager to startle and fall over the back of the seat in front of him, hopefully into someone's popcorn, which we'd then have to replace, or we expected him to immediately start trying to administer the CPR Shayna said that she had got certified in case of milk dud failure or whatever. Instead, the assistant manager lowered his flashlight down below the knee level like he was going to see a stub and not blind everyone in place. Then he nodded and kept crouching along the row. What the hell, right? Like, what the fuckity fuck? I stood up from my seat. I don't know. To call foul, to explain the joke and how wonderful it had been about to be, but as soon as I did, the dude behind me grumbled for me to sit, so I sank back down. But it was like my chair was still floating away, right? This did not track. Not even a little. Yes, Manny had a ticket, but what was going to be the next part of the joke? One of us peeling it up from his shirt pocket, but Manny couldn't flash his own ticket. All Manny could do was sit there. And had the assistant manager not clocked that frozen in place face, the empty expression, that Ken doll drugged out happiness, I shook my head. No, that wasn't right. This wasn't even in the general arena of being close to right. If this prank wasn't working, then nothing held, right? Nothing was real. Everything was cut loose and falling just wherever, and it didn't matter because rules didn't count anymore. And then, in the middle of me forgetting how to breathe and how to process and how to not run shrieking away into permanent craziness, the assistant manager got to me to check my ticket. Just because he was authority and I was banned, I kept my face down, kind of in an automatic, let him do his necessary thing and slide right past. But then Tim, a few seats down, he couldn't find his stub anywhere, which pretty much figured for him. In trying to explain that he'd really paid, the assistant manager finally figured out who he was, which instantly turned into a big thing, and Shayna getting reeled into all of this unawares, both of them getting marched down the carpeted stairs. I hardly looked up when they were led past, practically in cuffs. I just scooched my knees over to the other side and kept my face down. For the rest of the movie then, in the dead space after the failed prank, in the impossible afterplace of everything having gone wrong, I wasn't checked into the whole superhero parades on screen. What I was glued what I was glued 150% to was the man sitting up straight in the center of the movie theater, his red and white cap on the same rakish angle that I'd put it on him, all of my hopes and dreams packed into his tiny 25-pound of department store plastic, my heart beating so hard, my eyes so laser focused, my mouth so dry, and everything I thought I knew dripping out of my ears, my nose, my fingertips. When the credits rolled, Manny didn't wait for a tag-on scene. We knew would come later. He just stood up, didn't look around, and filed out with the rest of the crowd, his legs stiff but moving, his arms swinging in limited range, like action figure arms. I leaned over, threw up into and through the bottom of my cup holder, and then smashed my cup down into it like it would hide it. Uh-oh, Victoria. Well, I might just go ahead and call it an early night after 2 chapters, because now we got the mannequin is awake. Look, pulling dank prank. Should say story so far. Pulling dank prank. Dank prank with mannequin. Banned from theater. A mannequin just stood up and walked out. That's where we're at. So, make sure to get your votes in. I'm going to go ahead and call it an early night for the rest of us. Damned mannequin. Be back next week to see what happens with Manny the mannequin. I'm pretty sure that we are just going to read this whole thing next week. Because we're already at 15%. So, be here for the Manny the Mannequin show. Also, yeah, that means that we'll be doing the vote for the new story very soon here, like next week. So get your votes in. I will post the vote for that very soon. Thanks everybody for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed everybody's stories. Make sure to vote on the Discord for your favorite cringe so that I can give the appropriate award next weekend at the Loinies. Until then, thank you so much for hanging out, for listening to the stories, and have a great weekend. Don't die.